I did my risk management plan on Williams Stadium. It's a home of the Liberty Flames. This is in Lynchburg, Virginia. But before we get started, we'll look at some of the amenities and stuff that the stadium has to offer. It's actually currently ranked one of the top FCS facilities in the country. It's got a leader in all student attendance. We have about 8,000 to 9,000 show up to every game, and that rivals that of Oregon and Texas Tech. It's got a 48,000 square foot FOC. That's the Football Operations Center, and you can see right here on the right some other stuff that the FOC has is our team locker room is housed in there. It's got all the coaches' offices, team meeting rooms, position meeting rooms. The whole bottom floor is actually a giant weight room, and it's got our video board there on top. As for the stadium itself, there's a five-story tower that features a fully functional press box. It's got 18 luxury suites, an 11,000 square foot pavilion, and then it has all your offices for athletics administration and your concession stands and things of that nature. The capacity is currently 19,200, but they got future plans to get over 30,000, eventually over 60,000. But the stadium is very nice for an FCS stadium. With any facility, and especially one as popular as Williams Stadium, it's very important to have a risk plan that identifies, classifies, and manages all the risks associated with all aspects of the stadium, both inside the stadium and outside the stadium. To begin, risk is defined as exposure to the chance or injury of loss or a hazard or dangerous chance. Loss can be, of course, both physical or financial in nature. Naturally, there are risks that with any activity that an individual partakes in that are inherent in these situations. So especially facilities with large crowds and robust fans, it's important to have a risk management plan in place. Which risk management plan, that's defined as a course of action designed to reduce the risk and loss to sport participants, spectators, employees, and management and organizations. Logically, it's almost impossible to eliminate all the risks associated with a facility, but with the proper development, implementation, and management of a plan, you can greatly reduce and treat the majority of the known and unknown risks. A proper plan defines and instructs parties how to handle and treat jeopardies with all the features of a stadium, both inside and abroad. And it's something that needs to be proactive in nature. It needs to be known by every employee, and it needs to be reviewed constantly. Next, we're going to go ahead and identify some of the risks with Williams Stadium. Of course, outside the stadium, there's physical and sexual assault. You can't have eyes everywhere, but that's always a risk. The car accidents, your crosswalks, walking past from parking lots to stadiums, and then weapons use for actually Liberty. The weapons policy is if you're a concealed carry, you can carry on campus. So that's something interesting about Liberty. Inside the stadium, physical sexual assault again, theft, slippage, maybe someone were to spill something. Your crowd management, terrorism, bomb threats, things of that nature, criminal intent. Again, that follows up with any intent that somebody has to commit a crime, and then your weapons use, and then maybe smoking. For your weather, you could have heavy precipitation. Of course, there's not a roof over everyone's head there. Lightning, there could be severe heat and cold depending on the time of the season. Then for the players actually playing, you have concussions. They can get strains, sprains, and broken bones, and they can get in fights in the field. For the facilities, the actual stadium, there could be structural deficiencies. Your concessions, anything with maybe food, things that the fans eat. The field turf maintenance and upkeep, and then your restrooms. Once we identify our risks, we need to classify them using our risk matrix, which I'll go over here in a second. In order to classify, by classifying our risks, we can know how to properly treat them. Traditionally, risk treatment falls into 4 categories: elimination and avoidance of the risk. You can transfer the risk to an outside party. You can retain the risk by the stadium or the organization can just simply eat it, or you can reduce the risk with proper training. To begin, our first one is elimination or avoidance. That usually pertains to the type of risk that can be catastrophic or critical loss and happens at a high to medium frequency in regard to the facility. Avoidance involves simply not including the activity or risk with the facility, whereas elimination means to delete that activity if it's already being offered. Williams Stadium needs to be mindful of the fact that concussions happen in the game of football at a medium frequency, and being concussed is classified as a critical loss. So it's important to avoid any unnecessary risks that may lead to concussions, maybe with improper equipment, unpadded surfaces within the stadium, and contact rules not being abided by. Like I said, it is difficult to completely eliminate concussions, but it's very vital to try to avoid it. Next, you can transfer the risks. That's defined as the shifting of the liability or responsibility for loss from the service provider to another party, and that occurs when two conditions exist. One, the risk of loss is not substantial enough to warrant the avoidance of the activity, and two, the risk is greater than the organization can assume on its own. This is usually taken care of by an insurance policy the stadium may have in place, but in some instances, Williams Stadium may have well visible signs to warn of risks, and that also proves that there was no negligence involved. Waivers can also be used to transfer liability, and these may be signed maybe to order and to participate in halftime giveaways, things of that nature. Transferring the risk should be involved in all catastrophic, critical, or moderate losses of medium or low frequency, in addition to risks that are moderate to low with high frequency. It's very important to have methods of transferring risk for any service provider, and especially those with multiple risks inherent. Next, another form of risk treatment is retention. That's where the organization, I guess, simply eats the loss, so to speak. This means the program will pay for any loss and comes out with low loss risk. It's often cheaper to simply just pay for them than try to buy insurance to transfer the risk. This involves small risks like stolen merchandise, maybe giving out free programs, unauthorized viewing of the game, unhappiness of spectators, or team injury. Lastly, and probably the most significant, is treating risk by reduction. To properly treat risk with reduction, there needs to be a proactive mindset in determining risk and developing a plan to counteract them. By doing so, you're not only trying to reduce the risk itself, but reduce the chance of legal action. Reduction techniques are one of the most important areas of a risk management plan. Proper maintenance of property, establishing emergency procedures in writing, providing better training for personnel on the what, how, and when actions when to be carried out, and a system of meaningful document retrieval are a few techniques people can use for reduction. And reduction actually pertains to all of the risk involved with Williams Stadium, so it's vital to have a plan of action in place. Now this is actually our risk matrix. This you can, once you identify your risk, you can classify them into your risk matrix, and then this tells you how to treat your risks that you have them classified. So just real quick, you can see usually your high frequency risks that involve catastrophic or critical loss are going to be your avoid, where you just want to eliminate them from the stadium. And then you can see reduction is used in almost all the rest of them. Okay, and then you can see so on, transfer, and retaining some of them. This is how I classified our risks. You can see things that may happen at high frequency to a moderate loss, spectators injured on a slippery surface, maybe lack of lighting, parking, that sort of thing that happens, probably a moderate loss. You can see some things that happen low loss, low frequency over on the right side of the screen. These are the ones that are usually going to be retained. Maybe your programs are given away, memorabilia is stolen, concessions are given away, that sort of thing. Some medium frequency things that are low loss, maybe given inaccurate change for a ticket. Spectators are unhappy with the way concessions smell, or maybe vandalism, that's moderate. And then critical loss is your concussing. But you can see this helps. And then as more risks come up, you can further, I guess you can base them off your classification table and try to figure out how to transfer them or how to treat them. Right here is our emergency action plan. You can see for all the games, we're going to have one doctor of medicine and orthopedics present at the game. In addition, there's 2 certified athletic trainers and there's 6 assistants working towards such title. They're trying to get to be a head athletic trainer. Your team physician is going to be present. There's going to be ambulances or an ambulance in the end zone. So you can see, if you see in this background right here, at the bottom right corner of the FOC, there's actually an ambulance parked there. So that's a good start in the risk management plan. LUPD is located at every gate and parking lot. They're also located in every various spots of the concourse to assist with crowd flow in and out of the stadium. Staff and personnel is located at seating aisles, so you have ushers there to help you get to your seats to further streamline crowd flow. AEDs, all your staff's going to be equipped with first aid, emergency assistant contact information, and they're going to be trained in first aid, CPR, and AED use. And then grounds crew is going to utilize our field turf safety checklist. The plan: each athletic trainer and assistant has a certain responsibility on the sideline, which includes water, cramping, attending to injured player on the field, getting players set up in training facility if needed, stretching players, contacting other trainers and coaches to inform them of injury or needs on the sideline, parents and family of the athlete also. So each designated athletic trainer is going to have a specific responsibility. When something happens, they know what to do, what their role is. The head athletic trainer is in charge of utilizing the AED, assistants in charge of bringing it to him. EMS, of course, is trained how to take the field, tend to an injured athlete. The LUPD is located in seating aisles, in charge of directing people as well. As for equipment needed, spine board with cervical collar, vacuum splits, airway and CPR mask. That's all on the sideline during practices as well. AEDs on the sideline, press box concessions, and first aid kits will be provided as well. Crowd management. Essential that all the staff is competent in training and directing crowd traffic, analyzing problems with flow, and being proactive when it comes to protecting the people. Like I said, this is a very popular stadium, so they're going to get a lot of people here yearly. It's important that all of our staff and faculty knows how to communicate, as that's very important to the success of any management plan. For our alcohol policy, there's actually zero alcohol tolerance on the campus, not just on game days. So they're not allowed to bring any alcoholic beverages on campus or buy them, and that's no matter the age. Implementing the plan. In order to effectively implement this plan, it's essential that each and every staff member knows the plan in its entirety and their specific role in such plan. Communication, like I said, is another huge component of implementation, and this also pertains to the language which is being used. So it needs to be layman's terms. Everyone needs to understand what's being said in the manual in our plan. That's going to eliminate any ambiguity again with treating risk and people's roles. Having a manual which includes each employee's respective role in the plan is essential. And it's something the employee can refer to throughout their tenure on staff. And also be expected to be oriented on their role in the plan annually, as well as know when, how, and what to react to. It's also vital that our employees recognize the chain of command in regard to who their superiors are, who to answer to for what risk, and how to eventually and properly get a need addressed by the faculty managers. The manuals also include safety guidelines, emergency contact information, section that includes all rules for our spectators and staff, as well as how to address the safety concerns within the stadium. Our staff will also be equipped with radios, which each channel is devoted to different aspects of facility management, including our grounds, crowd control, security, seating, training, and medicine, and concessions. So each channel will be designated to one of those aspects, and then employees will be able to switch channels as necessary to reach the proper correspondence. New hires will be required to go through our training in the plan and their role and such. They'll be tested on the information they have been trained on in order to ensure full competence in their ability. Also, monthly, we're going to have all our employees required to complete one of the various real-life training activities and provide them with feedback on what they did right, what they did wrong, so they know how to perform if the real situation were to present itself. This will be phased in the off season and will be ready to go next fall. As for managing the plan, John Gooden, he's our director of risk management. He'll be in charge of reflecting on the plan and getting feedback from all the employees on what to improve, what needs less or what needs less emphasis. Mr. Gooden will ultimately have the final say in management and amendments of the plan, but he also had the input of a small committee which will help him make decisions. It is his responsibility to stress to all the staff the importance of the risk management as he interviews and informs, but even more is in his actions as he requires all employees to be involved in thorough training of the plan. Like I mentioned, each employee will be required monthly to participate in various training activities before the season starts, and they'll be tested on the plan and safety manual. Each member of the faculty has a specific role in regard to how the maintenance will be performed, as well as how to communicate a need in maintenance if it does not fall in their specific area of expertise. The university would actually be in charge of setting up insurance policies for all the risks that need to be treated by transferring. This all comes at the discretion of John Gooden as well. Like I mentioned, risk will be reduced by proper training and communication among employees, as well as written plans that the staff will be tested on. The emergency action plan mentions how all our staff is required to be trained in first aid, CPR, and AED use, and also our feedback will be transferred through the chain of command, so that employees on all levels will have an opportunity to have an impact, so that all concerns can make it to John Gooden in a controlled and organized fashion. But that's how we're going to manage our plan. This is our risk management plan for Williams Stadium.